Hi, I'm Melissa, and I have a story about a Roman emperor with an extravagant palace.
Hi, I'm Carlos, and I have a story about how much crap a restaurant can hold on its walls without collapsing upon itself.
And I'm Chelsea. I have a story about the inspiration for a brand new Taylor Swift song.
What does this all have to do with maximalism? Find out in this episode of History Bluffs. Hello and welcome to another episode of History Bluffs. It's where truth is stranger than fiction. And now I want to welcome to the show, it's your host, it's Chris.
Hello everyone, welcome. Thanks so much, welcome, good to see you, or not see you, good to hear you. That's
I'm hidden.
Not that it's good to not see you, it's good to hear you, Adam.
Okay.
Hello everyone.
You will hear me.
I will hear you. How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of History Bluffs. We have three outstanding historians sharing some stories today, and we'll get into that in a second. But my name is Chris. I'll be your host for this evening. And as always, we thank you for tuning in, either live on all of the StreamYard and Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube, and then also for those of you listening to us via podcast. Welcome to hearing our show.
That's right. We also syndicate to audio only for you commuters out there going to work.
That is right. Or leaving work, as the case.
Or leaving work. Or maybe you're retired. Who knows?
Yes, indeed. So I mentioned that we have three outstanding historians joining us today. Let's meet them, shall we? Yes. Starting off, we have Melissa. Hello, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
Fantastic. Welcome back to the show. We have Carlos, and Carlos, it's been a minute. Welcome back, Carlos, to the show.
Glad to be back, Chris.
And then more than 2 minutes ago, it's been since we've had Chelsea. And hello, Chelsea. Welcome back to you, my friend.
Hello, thank you.
So as Adam mentioned at the top, our topic tonight, inspiring these historians, is maximalism. And when I first saw that, I immediately broke down the word in my head. And I'm like, well, I know a Max, I know a Mal, and I know a Liz F. I was going to talk a little bit about that. But the thing that really struck me was maximalism is really, I saw several definitions of maximalism talking about how it is a reaction against minimalism. And it made me think, that sounds very much like the world we live in today, reactions against something. So without getting into math, I know, right?
That is
true. It is true. So I'm going to ask each of you just very quickly, just tell me something that either you've experienced or that you personally react against kind of in life in general. So Melissa, I'll start with you. What is something like maximalism to minimalism that you have either seen, reacted against, or that you personally have reacted against?
I get overwhelmed when I have too many options. Like at that soda machine where it's like you can pick the Coca-Cola freestyles and it's like a million flavors. Strongly against it.
I call that the Coca-Tron 3000.
Yeah,
it's a freestyle Coke machine. It's amazing. It's the best invention ever. How dare you?
We have a thing.
There is.
Dare you?
Carlos, you kind of just answered my question. What is a reaction that you've had against something? You just reacted against Melissa's reaction. So, but what else? Something you could take that, or you could tell us another story. What else?
What do I react against? I react against all the junk email I'm getting now at my office email account. I guess at some point our office domain got leaked or sold on some list or something, because now I get emails from my company every other day where payroll just needs more information from me in order for me to get my paycheck. And it's just harder and harder to discern, but I got to check and see where it's coming from. It's like my company name at taiwan.ed.xu. And it's like, well, that's not the right domain.
Yeah. Did you get the benefits one? That's the one I got today.
Oh, I opened that one. Absolutely. To get my SOCH done.
Oh, yeah.
Done.
Open and download immediately. Yes. And then Chelsea, what about you, Chelsea? What do you either have you seen someone react against something, or you yourself have reacted against something?
Oh man, I mean, what Melissa said made me think of when I go to get ice cream and there's so many new flavors, and I'm like, I don't know which one. So I get 2 samples and I tell my husband, sample this one. So I just like need to know what I'm doing before I pick. I tend to do too much research and overcomplicate.
Oh, all right. Very interesting. Very interesting. Just for the record, I'm going to side with Carlos on this one because the last year, one of the improv troops that I'm in, we've been doing a lot of mashups of different games that don't normally go together and mashing them up together. And I started doing that ironically, with both soda flavors and ice cream flavors. Seriously, when I'm out at restaurants and stuff, and I just kind of like tried it because it doesn't always work, but it's interesting to try new things. So that's where I said, what about you, Adam? What about you, Adam? A reaction against something?
Oh, well, you'll notice I don't have a Facebook account anymore. So that's my reaction. I've reacted to the invasion of social media into our lives by deleting my Facebook account.
I can attest that is actually true. And don't worry, Adam, they're not listening. They're only listening to the rest of us, not you.
Yeah. Oh, phew.
Thanks. Well, with that, why don't we get to maximalism is our topic, as Adam mentioned at the top.
It sure is.
And if you don't mind, would you pop up the rules of the show?
I sure will. Let's do it. We have a game show on our hands, Chris. So let's bring up the game rules. I'm showing them, but Chris is going to tell you in case you're one of those commuters I was talking about listening to our audio podcast.
I am indeed. So our historian rules are as follows. Historians are inspired by the topic. The topic, of course, tonight is maximalism. There are 2 of our historians telling true stories, and one of them is bluffing. The true stories are factual stories. They are going to be real stories and real people and real things. The bluff story is fictional. However, the premise of the bluff story will be fictional, but the bluff story might include real people, real places, real things in life. So don't be fooled by that. But the premise of their story is made up, is fictional. And lastly, we ask no audience help in debunking any of our stories. Yes, I know. We live in a society of so much debunking going on right now. But we still have an opportunity to do that. Just save it for the end of the show. Because I say at the end of the show because each of our 3 historians will have 3 rounds to tell their stories. So each round is broken up by time, and each round gets successively shorter. So we'll go 75 seconds in the first round, 60 seconds in the second round, and then 45 seconds in the final round where they will wrap up their respective stories. So with that,
I've got just the thing to help us stay on track, Chris.
How are we going to stay on track?
We're going to stay on track with the round tracker 9,000. Where did it go?
I want to see
it. There it is. Oh, here it comes. Wait for it. There it is. Okay.
There it is. Hello. This is the round tracker 9,000 right above me. And for those of you that are listening, it is this beautiful, very high-tech graphic that shows round 1, round 2, round 3, with 3 dots representing our 3 historians for each round. And as each of them tell their stories, those dots will be filled in. And by the time at the end of the show, all 9 dots are filled in, we will find out who is tonight's history bluff. So, as I said, we're going to start with round 1. It's going to be 75 seconds. And Adam, if you will, please kick us into round number 1.
Let's do it. Round number 1.
Welcome back.
There it is. We are at round number 1.
We are at round number 1. So, we're going to go in the order that I see the historians on my screen, which is Melissa first, Carlos second, and Chelsea third. So, Melissa, you're going to come out first. I'm going to switch spots with you. You get the big square here, and you're going to have 75 seconds to open your story, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so the year is 64 AD in the Roman Empire, and things are not great. In fact, there's a giant fire that starts in the center of Rome. And historians are actually a little bit debated about how it was caused. Some say that it was a theatrical reenactment of the fall of Troy. Others say it was an accident. But a large number of historians believe that the emperor at the time, Emperor Nero, caused it himself to clear room for a special construction project. And out of the ashes of this fire, he basically built this great massive complex. It was in true maximalist fashion. No expense was spared. There was great structures built of ivory, jewels, marble, and it was 300 acres. So part of this complex also included this octagonal structure that's really cool. Has like a skylight type of feature that was erected to the Roman god Apollo. There was also a giant colossus statue in the center of the complex that measured 98 feet. That was like a portrait of Emperor Nero. It was finished in an astounding 4-year period just before Nero's death, and it's called Domus Aurea, the Golden House. And what's really crazy is what's next part of the house.
All right. Well done, Melissa. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm now going to turn to Carlos and Chelsea and find out their reactions to Melissa's opening round and see if they think Nero not only a good fiddler, but an ancient developer. What do you think about that, Carlos?
Okay, so it sounds like this history took place a very, very, very long time ago, 16 something. Is that the year I heard?
6480.
6480. Yet they still don't know how the thing burned down, whether it was an accident or whether it was they haven't figured that out. That sounds suspicious. I feel like there's been enough time by now to figure it out, especially if they rebuilt something in 4 years.
That's called a cold case. That's a thing. That's a real thing, cold case.
Whose side are you on, Chris? Whose side are you on? Because you shouldn't be on anybody's side.
I am not. I'm on the side of history. I'm on the side of history and the side of bluffing. So we'll see. And Chelsea, what do you think of Melissa's opening round?
When Melissa said Emperor Nero, I was thinking like Robert D. Nero.
That's a good name.
Okay. If there's a movie about this conspiracy that Carlos is pushing forth, I'm sure Robert De Niro will play Nero. That makes sense. All right. If you look, yes. If you look above my head now, you can see one of those dots are now filled in. It means it's time to go to historian number 2. So, Carlos, I'm going to switch spots with you. You're going to have 75 seconds to tell us your opening round of your story, and the floor is yours.
All right, let's go far back in history, all the way back to the late 20th century in Minneapolis, at old time land of Minneapolis. There was a restaurateur in Minneapolis named Bill Roberts, and he was successful. He had a successful steakhouse. He had a successful, sleek, bistro-style Northern Italian restaurant, but he wasn't obsessed with these. He was obsessed with the old-timey red sauce joints that he used to frequent when he would visit his sons in the Northeast at their college. These red sauce where they make the sauce from family recipes, and maybe they have the checkered tablecloth, these places, and he wanted to recreate this. So he decided, they had stuff up. They had velvet paintings of Mount Vesuvius. They had Christmas lights up. They had things up, and he wanted to redo this, even though he wasn't Italian. He wasn't Italian. Is that a crime to have one in an Italian restaurant without being Italian? No, there was nothing like this in Minneapolis. What was the man to do? So he decided not just to recreate those bygone red sauce joints, but to present the most exaggerated, over-the-top version of them, which you will find out the name of shortly.
All right.
Well
done. Well indeed, Adam. Well done, Carlos. So we're going to turn now to Chelsea and Melissa and hear if they are in tune with Carlos' story of checkered tablecloths, or if it's a checkered past he's trying to push forward. So, Chelsea, I'll start with you. What do you think of Carlos' story?
We don't have enough information to go off of, so I'm not sure if he's just holding out. So we'll see, but that could be a tactic.
Okay. Not enough information to go off of yet. It sounds like my ex-father-in-law saying something about me. Melissa, what do you think of Carlos' story?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Chelsea. The story about the mimic red sauce joint, it could be that Carlos is on the sauce, or it could be right on. I'm not sure. So
okay.
I've never called a restaurant a red sauce restaurant, though, I will say.
Yes, we'll have to tune in to find out as we continue forward, which we're going to do now. We're going to continue on to our third historian here, the opening story from Chelsea. So, Chelsea, you and I are going to switch spots, and you have 75 seconds to tell us your round one, and the floor is yours.
So we've all heard of the Taylor Swift Tortured Poets Department album. Amazing, incredible. It has already broken so many records. It has the most album streams in a single day within the first 12 hours, claimed not just all 10 spots of the Billboard Hot 100 for its first week, but actually the top 14. Now, one of those top 14 songs, well, this one wasn't on it. Clara Bow. Everyone said, who's Clara Bow? Why is Taylor Swift obsessed with Clara Bow? Why are we listening to Clara Bow? What does she have in relation to Clara Bow? Taylor Swift is a billionaire with a private jet, sold out the first billion-dollar tour, has multi-million-dollar mansions, and we're talking about a silent film actress from the 1920s. So Clara Bow, who Taylor Swift emulates in her Fortnite music video, was the first, quote, it girl. She actually was in it in 1927, but she wasn't always this giant star. She actually has quite the rag to riches story. Started out with nothing and eventually had an opulent lifestyle.
Okay. Well done, Chelsea. Well done. Now we're going to turn to Melissa and Carlos to hear if they are taking Chelsea's word that Taylor Swift's new album is breaking records, or is it going to turn out to be a punk story of someone actually breaking that record? Carlos, what do you think?
Okay, so there's this person named Clara Bell that no one's ever heard of, and presumably she was in It in 1927, a film we all know came out in the 80s or 90s. So that's falsehood number one. Number two, Chelsea is trying to get through a lie by attaching it to Taylor Swift, hoping that the Swiftie support alone will distract from her distractions of falsehoods.
Wow.
Okay, early accusations
I
of
won't be
falsehoods
fooled.
here. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I do think that Chelsea is trying to ride the wave of Taylor Swift's reputation, if you know what I mean. So I'm still trying to figure out what era she's in.
That's all right.
Bravo.
Again.
Even I get that one. Nice, well done. So, hey, Adam, guess what? That means we're at the end of round one.
What, already?
Yes.
Well, that can
We
only
have
mean
to
one
move
thing.
on.
Let's do it. Let's go to round number 2.
All right.
We are at round number 2, Chris.
Welcome back to round number 2, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to move on now. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this round is going to be a little bit shorter than the last round. Last round was 75 seconds. In round 2, each historian will get 60 seconds to tell us the middle portion of their story. Yes, indeed. So, Melissa, we're going to come back to you. So you and I are going to switch spots, and you now have 60 seconds for your round 2 portion of your story, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so as I said before, Nero loved the finer things, and the Domus Aurea, it was also called the Golden House, or sometimes called Nero's Golden House. And part of this complex was actually an ancient zoo on the 300 acres. And it was right behind that sort of lobby space where the Colossus was. And having expanded into North Africa during this time, the Roman Empire had access to a lot of other exotic animals that they would capture for like kind of showing off their conquest or for entertainment purposes. And so the stars of Nero's zoo included a pair of lions that he named them after family members. They were Flavius and Dominatus, I think that's it, named after members of his own family. And the record also shows evidence of a giraffe. There were gazelles, elephants, and peafowl. There was also an account from an ancient historian, Tacitus, that's a little vague, that we think was an African wild dog.
Okay. A lot of exotic animals rolled off there at the end of that story. So we're going to turn back now to Carlos and Chelsea to find out what they think of the second round of Melissa's story. Is this, Nero's Golden House, is it ringing true to you, or is that just a red sauce restaurant that is named after this Roman emperor? Carlos, what do you think? Oh, you're muted, Carlos.
I've never heard of an animal called a peafowl. That's the first thing. That sounds suspicious. And, it sounds like she's just telling the ancient version of We Bought a Zoo. So maybe Melissa's recently seen the Mac Damon vehicle We Bought a Zoo and is just retelling that story now.
Okay. P foul is sometimes the P is silent, so it's just pronounced foul.
Lions and
yeah.
tigers and lies. Oh my.
Yeah, it's like Pfizer. But okay, Chelsea, what do you think?
There's not a lot of information. There are vague reports. So it doesn't really sound concrete to me.
Okay. Adam, that means that we are at the spot now. We're going to switch me with Carlos and have Carlos come out. Carlos, you're going to have 60 seconds for your second round story, and the floor is yours.
As I said, Phil Roberts, the entrepreneur, he wanted to recreate the bygone Red Sauce joints, but to get a big exaggerated version, an over-the-top version where people could feel totally comfortable, a bit silly. He wanted to have a sleeves-up restaurant where you don't have to tie your sweater around your neck to enjoy yourself. He wanted the decor to be tacky. He wanted the portions to be enormous, the atmosphere to be boisterous. He didn't care that he wasn't Italian. It was back in the 90s. We didn't care about such things. And there were no Red Sauce joints in Minneapolis. He had to bring them, right? So he created something called Buca di Beppo, loosely translating to my buddy's basement. That's when it was born. Yes, those restaurants with all the crap on the walls, maximized with paintings and pictures of Italian stuff. He made it. He was the inventor.
Okay. Chelsea. We're going to hear from Chelsea and Melissa on Carlos's explanation of the birth of Buca di Beppo, or is it just a bunch of baloney? Chelsea, what do you think?
I mean, you could have put, I was waiting, is it going to be Pizza Hut? Is it going to be Chuck E. Cheese? Like, what? It's like insert Italian restaurant name here. So it's just not specific enough.
Why is the audience shocked at that statement? I don't understand the reaction.
Maybe they didn't
They're
think it was
just
Pizza Hut.
Yes, and
Do not understand that reaction.
They're enamored with generalities. That's why. Melissa, what did you think?
I feel like you read off the mission statement a little bit there in the beginning with the sleeves rolling up, and like it sounds like it was written by the Buca di Beppo corporate. I'm just wondering if if that's possibly a payment there. I don't know.
Like it was on the placemat.
Right.
Like,
I didn't hear untrue anywhere in that statement. All right.
Okay.
I'll take it.
We'll still find out. We will find out. So now I'm going to switch spots with Chelsea. Chelsea, you're going to come to the main square, and you have 60 seconds for your second round of your story, and the floor is yours.
So Miss Clarabeau, again, came from nothing. Dad was a gambler. Mom had really horrible mental health issues. And Clara came across this contest, the Fame and Fortune contest of 1921. So what she did was she submitted for it, and she put a photo of herself in it. And she actually won this personality contest. And winning the personality contest got you to star in a movie. So she did. And when she took her friends to see it, her footage was cut. So she was actually a total tomboy. She was made fun of for her stammer. And then once she got her second movie deal, boom, that was it. So Clarabeau, she starred in a ton of silent films. I think 50 films overall. But she didn't start really making crazy money until The Talkies.
Okay. Now we are going to turn to Melissa and Carlos and find out if they are believing that the second chance worked, second time the charm for Clarabeau. Melissa, what do you think?
It sounds more like the inspiration for Shake It Off, this Clarabeau person. She was able to shake it off.
I can see that.
Yeah, right? So I'm suspicious because of that. I'm suspicious because I don't know.
Color you suspicious. All right. Carlos, what do you think of Chelsea's second round story?
All right, the sirens are going off for suspicions on Chelsea's story. You know,
Uh-oh.
Clara Bow sounds like the name of a cartoon cow. You know, so I'm starting to think that Chelsea's story may be in error.
Error?
Almost.
Error.
I don't.
I can do the puns too. I can do the Swifty puns too.
Oh! It's a Swifty.
Can you do it with a
pun.
broken heart? That's a new reference. Amazing song. I can do it with a
Oh
broken
my
heart.
goodness.
Stream it today on Spotify.
Oh, okay. I think she gets kickbacks.
Yes, indeed. Well, speaking of kickbacks, this has nothing to do with kickbacks. But Adam, the second round is full.
Oh, well, that means we're gonna have to kick it back into higher gear. See, I did it. We're gonna go to round
Yes,
3,
you
Chris.
did.
Let's do
Yes,
it.
we are. All
Round
right.
number 3. And here we are,
All
kicking it
right.
back,
Welcome
round
back.
3 style.
Here we are indeed kicking it back round 3 style. And now, for ladies and gentlemen watching the show, we are at the portion of the show where we do indeed wish you would put up some comments if you have any thoughts on debunking any of our 3 outstanding historians' stories. We'd love to hear them. And then after this round, we're going to come around we go around the horn again and get each person's reaction to the other 2 stories. And then we'll have some accusations made, and we'll find out who indeed is tonight's bluff, because I don't even know. Only Adam knows, and the bluff. Only Adam and the bluff know who tonight's history bluff is. So
That's right.
With that being said, no further ado, let's go back to the contestants. And once again, remind you, this is the 3rd round, meaning that your wrap-up round here in round 3 is 15 seconds shorter. So it's going to be 45 seconds for the conclusion of your story. And Melissa will turn it over to you first, and you are going to have 45 seconds to wrap up your story about Nero the Emperor, and the floor is yours.
All right, so Nero's zoo, he would apparently have feasts near the zoo and to impress his guests. It was very extravagant, but sadly, or maybe not so sadly, depending on your view of Nero, he died in 68 AD, shortly after the zoo, along with the rest of the Golden House, was completed. Rome fell into unrest again, and it was mostly, a lot of it was destroyed or repurposed in the civil wars that followed. The zoo was stripped of all of its structures like marble and things like that in the war. And it wasn't until the 15th century that a Roman fell through a cleft, basically a Roman citizen, and rediscovered 4th century frescoes that aligned with Tacitus, as well as Pliny the Elder, who were famous historians from that time period about this zoo.
Wow. Carlos and Chelsea, let's find out, what did you think of this? Nero died and somebody fell through the ceiling and discovered all this stuff. Carlos, we'll start with you.
I mean, it sounds like she's trying to play the Library of Alexandria story into this. You know what zoos have a lot of? Animal dung. That's what I'm smelling right
Wow,
now.
that's
Okay,
man.
all right, interesting. Chelsea,
You
what
fell
do you think
into
of
it,
Melissa's-
Melissa.
I have to agree. There was a lot thrown at us. It was a maximalist ending to that story.
Oh,
Yes, indeed. All right, so we have one of our stories wrapped up now, and a little bit of some suspicion thrown towards Melissa. Now let's hear what everyone else thinks of Carlos's conclusion. Carlos, you and I are going to switch spots. You have 45 seconds to conclude your story, and the floor is yours.
Okay, even though this chain was built on kitsch, Roberts knew that the food had to be the real deal. So he hired a guy named Vittorio Renda, a great self-assured cook who put together a menu with his family recipes and made huge portions, meatballs the size of baseballs, gooey mozzarella flowing over the garlic bread. They made this great food. His son, Stephen, went and found a bunch of black and white pictures of Italian families to cover the walls, picked up religious souvenirs from Vatican City. And they didn't plan it to be a chain, but it became a chain. Other chains came up around the same time, Olive Garden, Macaroni Grill, etc., but they were never like Buca di Beppo with this Pope room and everything. Ultimately, businesses don't do great. He sold it. The other guy ran it kind of into the ground, et cetera, et cetera. That's what happens.
That's what happens indeed. All right. Melissa and Chelsea, we're going to hear your thoughts on Carlos's story. Did the restaurant run into the ground, or did Carlos's truth run into the ground? What do you think, Chelsea?
Carlos is going to need a getaway car after that story because we're not buying it.
All right.
There. Oh.
Not buying it. Melissa, what do you think of Carlos's conclusion?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's the story of Buco de Beppo or Buco de Loco, because the name Phil Roberts seems a little too clean for this. I don't know.
Okay.
I already said he's not Italian. I've already covered it.
Okay. All right.
Bulletproof. My story's bulletproof.
Bulletproof in your own mind, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, Chelsea, we have you to come out now to the center square here and the large square. You're going to have 45 seconds to conclude your story of Taylor Swift and Clara Bow and the connection there. Go ahead.
So Clara Bow, her acting was phenomenal. She was able to evoke emotion and really have really great gestures, especially in that silent film era where you're not talking. So again, she was the first it girl. She was the quintessential flapper. Her image is what inspired and what Betty Boop's image is based off of, as well as the Italian felt salon doll. So she's at the height of her career. She spent what equivalent to almost $5 million today between February of 1929 and October 1930 on clothing and cars going out. Her personal secretary stole all of her stuff and threw it into the papers and sued her. And Taylor Swift knows all too well what it's like for people to throw your personal business and your personal words out there.
Okay, parallel lives. Melissa and Carlos. Melissa, what did you think of Chelsea's conclusion? Clara Bow going from the quintessential flapper to being, kind of just flipped from her secretary.
Yeah, she had an interesting life, this Clara Bow, but I'm having trouble getting over the fact that a singer who wrote an album called Speak Now decided to get inspiration from a silent film actress. There seems to be some things at odds. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right, Carlos, what do you think?
I think that it's inconceivable that there would be anything close to the equivalent of $5 million back in 1927. I think that amount is so preposterously high for that time period. There wasn't that much stuff on the planet that someone could collect and spend $5 million equivalent worth of it. That's preposterous.
Okay. Pretty strong accusation. It was called the Roaring Twenties, indeed. And that, there was the whole, haves and have-nots that led up to the Great Depression. So we'll find out, because this is my favorite part of the show, where we now go quickly around the horn and just kind of hear the final thoughts from each of our historians and a final accusation of who they think is tonight's bluff. So, Melissa, I will start with you.
Okay, so I think both stories had some interesting flaws with Buco de Beppo in the inspiration. I don't know. I think it could happen. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Chelsea being the bluff. I knew she was trouble when she walked in. And I think that the whole idea of such a story inspiring Taylor Swift, I would buy the movie, but I don't buy the story from history.
Okay. We have our first accusation, and it is Chelsea. Carlos, what do you think?
You know what? As suspicious as Chelsea's story is, I think it would be insanely bold of her to try to BS all the Swifties that watch our channel and create some character that they would have researched and have already like gone to the Library of Congress to discover, and have found all her movies. Like, this is what Taylor Swift told us to do. Meanwhile, I think Melissa just has her two dartboards, one that goes to a period of time, that goes to a random place you can visit with the kids, and decided Nero Zoo. That's my story today. Melissa's the bluff.
Melissa, the accusation there from Carlos. All right, so we have one accusation for Melissa, one accusation for Chelsea. Chelsea, what do you think of the other two stories, and who are you going to think is the bluff?
The Robert De Niro thing, I was like, I don't know about this. Everything seems a little hodgepodge together. And then Carlos is, I don't know if he was just made up the most simple thing he could, or if he actually read the back of the menu. Maybe he's got a little takeout menu and read the story. But for that reason, I'm just gonna go with Carlos, because that wasn't maximalist enough with juicy details.
All right. So we went off the light portion of the menu on details, according to Chelsea. So we now have an accusation for Chelsea, an accusation for Melissa, and an accusation for Carlos. So that means that whoever is tonight's bluff did not completely get away with it, and I don't get a vote. So Adam, I'm going to hand it off to you, and let's find out really who was tonight's bluff.
All right, let's find out. And you're right. You're right, Chris. We have an accusation for everyone. So while the bluff is not going to get away scot-free, one person and only one person guessed correctly. So was your bluff for this show about maximalism, was it Melissa? Was it Carlos? Or was it Chelsea? I have the knowledge. Prepare yourself. It was Melissa.
Yeah! Yeah!
Oh, somebody's happy. Someone is thrilled. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the show here.
I win. I'm the winner. Yeah.
So Carlos is very much indeed happy that he chose Melissa. All right. Well,
wow.
Let's see. Melissa, just kind of what were your inspirations to come up with the story, with the bluff?
I was kind of just thinking around of different time periods, but I didn't just think zoo. So Emperor Nero I didn't have the dartboards, I promise. Nero did have a fascination with the extravagant, and it's true, this structure does exist. You could visit it today, but just not the zoo part. The zoo's made up.
Okay.
I see.
All right.
It's fake. No zoos.
No zoos. No zoos
No
allowed.
Nero zoo.
No peafowl. Not a real thing.
Nope. None of that. All right, Chris. Well, that's it. Carlos, you get a point, and Melissa, better luck next time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That was a fascinating show. I enjoyed hearing about Emperor Nero, even though some of it was not true. Carlos and Buca de Beppo, the birth of Buca de Beppo. It's so easy to say.
Buca de Beppo.
Yes, and Chelsea, and the Taylor Swift Clara Bow connection by Chelsea. So thank you to each of our outstanding historians. Thank you again to Adam, our tech extraordinaire, makes the show run every week. My name is Chris. I've been your host. Thank you to all of our historians. And Adam, I'm going to turn over to you. Take us away.
Let's do it. History Bluffs airs weekly. Tune in. You can learn something, get some laughs, play along, and try to guess who the bluff is. We'll see you next time.